It's interesting. So many people, it's a combination. I'll just say black, it's been black women. I was thinking about my grandmother I used to go with. I often tell a story. I used to go with my grandmother to vote. And I don't ever remember, it's so interesting. I really don't remember a single conversation she ever had with me about needing to vote. But she was the biggest inspiration because she had this thing where it was called a shiffer robe. I don't know.
I know what a shiffer robe is, but you explain it.
Yeah. And so she had her daily purse, but she had what she called her good pocketbook, because she called it her pocketbook, not her purse, that she would put in the shipper roll. And whenever she would go to the shipper roll or tell you to go to the shipper roll to get her purse, or her pocketbook, you knew it was something special. Like that was at the wedding or family event, but that's where she had her good stuff, right? And so, we would go, she would take me to vote with her. And so there was something about, it's so interesting how we send messages. She would go to the shipper roll to get her good purse, her good pocketbook, right? And it was a way she would carry it on her arm, and she would have me on one hand, and we would go into the booth. And it was something about, my grandmother didn't drive. My grandfather would drive her everywhere, right? And so she would go in the booth, and sometimes she would tell me which one to do, and she would let me, because you had to switch this little thing. They had this curtain around the booth, and she would let me switch it. And I promise you, it was something about the way she would walk out. And so my grandmother was born in 1910. So the majority of her life, she didn't have access to being able to vote freely and fairly. And so there was something about in Mobile, Alabama, when we would walk out of that booth, the way she would hold her head and hold that pocketbook and hold my hand, that I knew was something special about that. It literally was something that affirmed her humanity. It affirmed her power and her independence. And so as I got older, I realized kind of the power, the power, the actual political power, but more than anything, which I actually think is more critical and has had more impact in shaping me, I recognized the agency piece, that I recognized that it was a part of her humanity. It was a part of her, not necessarily she was actually like it's about her belief necessarily in the system. Because I do want to distinguish that, right? Because Black people in the South have a distinctively different experience when it comes to the systems and the fairness of systems. And their critique of it, we have to acknowledge that there is legitimacy to that, because there has been an unfair treatment of what we've experienced. But there was something about her being able to use her agency and in that moment to make that choice for herself, that is what I think can change the world. And so that is really my grandmother and many other people, Fannie Lou Hamer and Ida B. Wells, and I can go on and on and on. But it was really sisters like that, women who I saw, everyday people who at the end of the day, in spite of all those things that tried to stop them from participating, recognized that they had a human right to be able to participate in a process where decisions were going to be made by them.